to the Rotoscopers YouTube. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Chelsea.
And today we are going to be doing another art book review, kind of. It's more of an art history.
Yeah.
It's called Once Upon a Dream, from Perrault Sleeping Beauty to Disney's Maleficent. Yeah. Half of this book's good. So the first thing I want to say about this book is the cover. I'm not impressed with the cover. If I were glancing the bookshelves at a bookstore, I would not be inclined to even pick up this book, even though there's Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty on the cover. It's not engaging, it's not well designed, and it's just not what you typically would get. Now, this isn't an art book per se, it's more of an art history. There's a lot more dialogue and descriptions about the making of the films than actual art itself. But nonetheless, I feel like they could have done something a little better with the cover. The book is filled with these huge, wide, big pages of concept art or different cells, and I felt like they could have used some of those, and they could have been better. Every time I look at this, I'm like, it's so boring. There's no character to it all, which the movie, I'm talking Sleeping Beauty, has so much.
I really enjoyed the first half of this book. This era was so perfect, and honestly, Sleeping Beauty is one of my absolute favorite Disney movies just because the art is so amazing. Really is amazing. The book starts off talking about all of the iterations of the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty and how it kind of changed over the years, and then finally when it got to Disney and what he was doing with it. Charles Solomon is the author of this book, and honestly I really like the stuff that he normally does. He is really good about getting people in the know. For example, he's not an accomplished master animator, but he knows where to get them, and he always includes their thoughts and their commentary in the books that he does, and I really appreciate that because one, you get to know what Andreas Deja or Glenn Keane or John Lasseter, you get to know what they think about all of these different movies and the different art styles of different specific things. But also, you get to know these people more. I feel like I know John a little bit better because of this book.
So thank you for giving Chelsea some imaginary friends.
all that I can get. It then goes in and talks about more of the music side with Tchaikovsky, which, that's sweet. It's it's sweet.
Yes, it's sweet, it's sweet.
It's great. Mary Costa did the female voice for Aurora, and it gives her story about how when Walt called her and was like, go in and talk to Mark Davis and figure out who this character is, live, breathe this character, know exactly how to portray her when you actually go into the studio to record. And I loved hearing her perspective of her conversations with Walt and the back and forth and what he wanted out of this film too. That was really cool. Speaking of experts, Charles just knows where to find them. Russ Edmonds is quoted in here as being just an all-around good horseman. And so it was just really funny, but he talked about how as he's watching the film, he notices that Samson is probably the best animated horse of all the Disney films.
Ooh.
It's going to be high praise from a well-to-do horseman.
Yes.
So, but also in an aside, he says, I can tell that they're watching cowboys and not actually English riders. Yes, Philip has an English saddle, but he's riding like a cowboy. And I'm like, I can appreciate that.
We never would have known that if they didn't bring in the horse expert.
Exactly. He also goes in and gives some dialogue from Mark Davis and Milt Kahl, and as far as their relationship to their characters that they animated, I'll give you a hint, they weren't fans of them. I mean, you look at Mark Davis, who is like the amazing animator that he is, and that I'm honestly sure that's why Milt Kahl and Mark Davis were given these characters, because they weren't particularly very
cartoony.
Yeah, they weren't cartoony, they weren't really active, they didn't have a lot of movement. I mean, Maleficent was a speech giver.
Yeah.
That's all she did. She just stood there, and everything that she ever did was very slight movements and just nothing big. So everything had to be just the minute details of that. And who better to do that than Mark? And the same goes with Milt with Philip. You know, Philip was very controlled. He had to look very good on a horse and looked very good all the time, but at least, and stay charming at the same time, which is hard to do when you can't really move the character. I will say though that as I'm reading this, every page that got me closer to the end of the section of Sleeping Beauty got me more and more irritated that I was going into the section of Maleficent.
Yeah. Basically, the majority of the book is about Sleeping Beauty. There's a beginning part that talks about the history of the fairy tale, but the Maleficent part is very small, and really there's not ever... I liked Maleficent, but I didn't really enjoy the fact that it strictly and blatantly changed Disney canon and claims to be canon. And so the fact that these were kind of like packaged, smushed together, it's like, ugh, I need the Sleeping Beauty, but I guess I have to have that, and just a bad taste in my mouth. Really, like, I was so engaged. The animation, the art, the cells, everything was really cool, and I was into it, and I liked the dialogue and the discussion that was happening. And then we hit the Maleficent section, and close the book.
I just didn't care. You know, as an animation fan, as a Sleeping Beauty fan, to me it would have made it so much more acceptable had they separated these two and made them two different things. I mean, I can appreciate making of a feature book. I can appreciate that just because I can appreciate the fact that making a film is hard, and there's a lot that goes into it, especially the CGI stuff that they had to do with that film, and just the pictures were really pretty. I mean, the whole thing was good enough.
But it doesn't have the history and the legacy that Sleeping Beauty has. So when you put them together, they're really not on par. So it's very obvious that, like, I'd rather learn about the real Sleeping Beauty. That's my opinion. I know others love Maleficent, but really having these two packaged together was not fun.
To me, I can't put them together. It's just, it's like fan fiction.
I think they would have had better sales of this book had they separated them. They'd done a really good Sleeping Beauty art book and a really good making of Maleficent. I just feel you would have had better synergy with these two books. I would have bought the Sleeping Beauty one and then been interested in the Maleficent one, but just packing them together isn't worth it to me.
You're forcing me to like this, and I don't appreciate that.
But then again, maybe we wouldn't have gotten all the Sleeping Beauty stuff if Maleficent hadn't come out.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, maybe they just would have done a Maleficent book and they wouldn't have gone and bothered to do all the research on Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
So for that reason, then I guess I'm glad we have something.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I'm just gonna say that it was good, but because we normally do 4 stars and up as a buy it, I'm gonna go 3.5 because I don't think I would have bought it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, buy it for the Sleeping Beauty history, I guess, if you really want that, but I don't think you're missing much with this. There's not that much art in it if that's what you're normally buying these books for.
I would have appreciated more art in there. I loved all of the dialogue that was in there. Everything that was written, I wouldn't take any of that out, for sure. But I just wish they would have put a little bit more in.
Yeah.
So. Alright, I want to know what you guys thought about this book as we were flipping through. What were some of your favorite pictures? Do you consider this a good pairing as far as putting both of them together? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos. We've got lots of other videos for art books, DVD reviews, random stuff, and
movie reviews, trailer reviews. Maybe we'll throw a song in there every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I yodeled once.
You did.
Anyway, let us know what type of video you want to see next. Until next time, my name is Chelsea Robson.
And I'm Morgan Stradling.
And you are watching
the Rotoscopers YouTube.